Oi boys, welcome back to another video on the channel. We are talking about finals week 2. So real quick before we start, just a brief recap of week 1 of the finals. From the top 4 teams, the Panthers and the Melbourne Storm advance to the preliminary final, so they have the week off. And from the bottom 4 teams, the Knights and the Sharks are out of the competition, so we've got some pretty interesting games this week. As for my picks, I had the Roosters beating the Panthers, and that was the only game I got wrong. I was going to take the Eels, but man, all the underdog teams, they all started well leading in their games, but man, once that momentum shifts, it's proven difficult for teams to get that momentum back, and that was pretty much the story of the matches this past weekend. So the first game for finals week 2, we have a 2019 grand final rematch, the Chooks and the Raiders. Judging from both teams' past performances, I'm expecting the Raiders to lift for this one, but I can't go past the Roosters again. They barely lost last week. I think the only place that the Raiders have the Roosters beat is in those halves. For me, Luke Keary's been a little quiet these past few weeks, and I don't know if it's because he's still carrying an injury or what. But he's definitely not the same Luke Keary from when the competition restarted. At the time, he was clearly the number 1 5'8" in the league. As for Flano, oh man, Flano's become somewhat of a defensive liability. It could just be a confidence thing. I know that's something people have been saying as well, but on paper, with the return of Jake Friend, who I'm expecting a massive game from, he'll definitely tighten up that middle, give them more options in attack. The Roosters, they got their backs against the wall in this game. I mean, so do the Raiders, but I feel like the Roosters have way more firepower. Not in the halves, obviously, but everywhere else. People like James Tedesco, Joey Manu in the forward pack. Wairea Hargreaves has been pretty trash lately, not gonna lie. And Taukeaho also has been kinda quiet. I mean, they got Sonny Bill on the bench. He'll be somewhat of an impact, I think. But I'm expecting all those said players to lift in this do-or-die situation for the Chooks. Look, my heart's with the Raiders, but man, it's going to be a tough mountain to climb come Friday night. Moving on to the last game of week 2, we got the Bunnies going up against the Parramatta Eels. I'm not too sure on this one. For the Bunnies in attack, when they are on, they are hard to stop, and for the Eels, it's quite the opposite. When the Eels are on, it's typically their efforts in defense that wins them games. Looking at both sides on paper, I definitely think Para have the better team on paper, but judging from recent performances, it's hard to go against the Bunnies in this. Man, I don't know, it's such a tough game, this one. Out of the 2 matches this weekend, this is probably the one I'm looking forward to most over the grand final rematch. I guess I'll say this, what I'm looking forward to the most is the battle between the halves. Actually, the game in general, even the forward pack, the battle there is very intriguing. But yeah, a confident Walker and Reynolds make for a very entertaining game of rugby league. The Bunnies attack in general when they're on. They have some of the slickest moves in the league. We saw a few of them last week. As for Mitchell Moses and Dylan Brown's return was a little rusty as expected, and the decision making from the pair was a little questionable, and I'll put that down to experience, and that'll ultimately be why I'll lean towards the experienced duo in Walker and Reynolds to get the Bunnies over the line this weekend. So that's my picks for week 2 of finals. My picks are with the favourites this week, but I kind of want Canberra to win. As always, if you want to see more rugby league content or more content in general, run it straight at that like button. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you
Aye, said then I when it's
later.
Knocker, I only do it proper. Gang like coppers, or change when we rock up. Notorious in the 8, but I ain't talking big popper. Like a high speed chase, I follow with the chopper. Brah, bop, bopper, too sick, need a doctor. I only take an offer if all my usos prosper. Trying to make moves to it, all eating lobster. Dogs in the field, or what's a dog to a monster? Bro, I was 16, pushing 10 knees. And now I'm 23, I'm about to live like a king. Make bread and break bread with the same team. I only hang off usos who have the same dream. That's why it's always 1 bag, 2 bag, 3 bag.